Good morning, Group 3. This is Lesson 28 problem set. Okay, we are still comparing fractions. So if you read the directions for problems 1 and forward, 1 through 5, it says shade the models to compare the following fractions. Circle the larger fraction for each problem. So here we've got 2/5, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. And we've got 2/3, 1, 2, 3. Notice that the whole tape diagram is the same for both fractions. The only difference is that this piece right here, which is really the denominator, is the number of pieces in the whole. So to shade 2/5, that just means I need to shade 2 sections. And to shade 2/3, I'm going to shade 2 sections, but these are each thirds, and it makes sense that the thirds are bigger because 3 is less than 5, and we know in fractions they have that opposite relationship where the bigger the fractional piece, the smaller the size of it really is. So which one would be larger, because that's what the directions are asking? Well, the one with more shaded. So 2/3 is larger. Okay, so let's look at 2/10 and 2/8. Which one's larger? Well, the 8ths are, because they're, if you're thinking about this as 0, this one is colored farther into the whole tape diagram. Okay, so the next one is 3/4 and 3/8. Now which one's larger? 3/4. 4/8 and 4/6. And again, pause this video if you're going too fast. I want to make sure to get it all in. Okay, so the bigger one would be 4/6 in this case. And then the last one here, 3/3, so the whole thing, and 3/6. Well, 3/3, definitely larger. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to go to the back side. There's 3 pages to this problem set, so we're 1/3 of the way there, or 1 out of 3 of the sides is done. How about that for sliding in a fraction? All right, so number 6 says, after a softball tournament, Leslie and Kelly each bought a half-liter bottle of a sports drink. Leslie drank 3/4 of her sports drink, and Kelly drank 3/5 of her sports drink. Who drank the least amount? Okay, so least, and we'll circle that. Use a tape diagram to show your work. All right, so for the first one, let's make this Leslie. So I'm going to put an L, and the other one's K for Kelly. Okay, so Leslie drank 3/4. The fourths tells us how many pieces we need. So I'm going to divide it in half, and then each of those halves I'm going to divide in half. Again, this just helps us get equal pieces. And I'm going to change my color here just so you can see the difference. So she drank 3/4, so that means I'm going to color in 3 sections. You don't have to change your color, just make sure you're shading it lightly enough that I can see your lines on your homework. Okay? All right, and so now Kelly drank 3/5. So the fifth is what tells us how many pieces to make for Kelly. So we're going to make hers into 5 equal sections. Those are a little harder. And I'm going to highlight hers a different color. So 3/5 right here. Okay. So who drank the least? Kelly. So we're going to say Kelly drank the least. And we know that seems to make sense because this one was 3/4. This is the same number of pieces, but these are fifths. So the bigger denominator means the smaller sections. And so Kelly should have drank the least. Okay. Becky and her twin sister, Mallory, each get matching piggy banks for their birthday. Becky filled 2/3 of her piggy bank with pennies. Mallory filled 2/4 of her piggy bank with pennies. Whose piggy bank has more pennies? Use a tape diagram to show your work. All right, So we've got a tape diagram for each girl. Let's label this B for Becky. The other one is M for Mallory. So if Becky filled 2/3, that means we need 3 equal sections. And we're going to shade it in 2 of them. Okay? And I'm going to say 2/3 over here. Mallory filled 2/4, so I need to make 4 sections out of this tape diagram, and I'm going to color in 2 of those and label it 2/4. You could also label it like this, okay, and 2/3 up at the top. So I'm going to erase that just to make some room. Ooh. Shade that back up. Okay. So the question was, whose piggy bank has more pennies? Well, we look for the tape diagram that's colored in more. Becky has more pennies. Okay? I got lost in there. All right, last side, one more side, last problem. Heidi's little sister was comparing the height of her dolls. Dolly Meg is 2/4 foot tall. Dolly Beth is 2/6 foot tall. And Dolly Amy is 2/3 foot tall. After measuring the dolly, her sister lined them up, shortest to tallest. Compare the height of the dolls to place them in order from shortest to tallest. That's always an important piece when you're doing a problem like this, is what order they want it. Largest to smallest, smallest to largest, in this case shortest to tallest. So we're going to use our tape diagrams. So we're going to label this one M for Meg, B for Beth, and A for Amy. Okay? Remember, each hole has to be the same size. All right. So Dolly Meg is 2/4. So we're going to break this in half. All this is a tape diagram turned on its end. And we're going to shade that 2 sections. That's 2/4. Okay? Now, Beth is 2/6. So 6 is an even number, so I'm going to divide that in half, and then each one of those halves is going to be broken into 3 equal halves to make 6 total. Be sure you're counting your sections to make sure you've got the right number of sections. All right, Beth is 2/6, so I'm coloring in 2 sections. And Amy is 2/3, so I've got to break that into 3 equal sections, so maybe here and here. So fairly equal. All right, I'm going to color those in 2 sections. Okay, oops, and I forgot to label these. So this is 2/3, and this is 2/6. So our job is to compare the heights and put them in order from shortest to tallest. So who's the shortest? Beth is the shortest. Then, which one's next? Meg and Amy. Okay, smallest, next smallest, tallest. All right, so that's lesson 28. It's more comparing fractions and using a tape diagram to show your work. Go ahead and get started on your homework. Bye.